The massive ship Dominator Prime hung in the dark space above Zephyria Prime like a metal moon. Inside its command center, Emperor Vorthek sat on his golden throne, watching the strange transmission that had arrived from a distant world called Earth. The blue and green planet looked small and peaceful on the giant screen before him. Admiral Korek stood beside the Emperor. His three eyes focused on the data flowing across the displays. Around them, dozens of Zephyrian officers waited in silence. The command center was huge, with glowing panels and holographic displays showing their vast empire. 12 star systems belonged to them. Over 10,000 warships served in their fleet. They had conquered 43 different worlds. The human transmission played again. A woman with short brown hair spoke from what looked like a simple room. She wore a blue uniform with small metal badges on her chest. Her voice was calm and friendly. "Greetings from Earth and humanity," the woman said. "I am Ambassador Helen Cross, speaking for the United Earth Defense Command. We have detected your ships near our system. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations with your empire. We would welcome the chance to share knowledge and culture." The transmission showed images of Earth's defenses. 3 space stations orbited the planet, each one about the size of a small city. 12 warships patrolled the outer system. They looked sleek and white, with blue markings on their sides. An orbital defense grid surrounded Earth, made up of weapon platforms and sensor arrays. Admiral Korex began to laugh. It started as a small chuckle, then grew louder until his whole body shook. Other officers joined in, their strange alien voices filling the command center with harsh sounds. "Look at this," Korex said, pointing at the screen. "They call this a defense fleet. 12 tiny ships. We have more vessels in a single patrol group." Emperor Vorthek leaned forward on his throne. His yellow eyes gleamed with amusement. "Show me their largest ship," he commanded. The display changed to show one of Earth's warships up close. It was about 300 meters long, with various weapons and sensor equipment attached to its hull. To the Zephyrians, it looked like a toy. "Our smallest fighter craft are bigger than that," said Commander Nexus from his position near the tactical display. "A single one of our battleships could destroy their entire fleet in minutes." The Emperor stood up from his throne. He was tall, even for a Zephyrian, with dark blue skin and 4 arms. Golden armor covered his chest, marked with symbols of his many victories. "Humans," he said, speaking the word like it tasted bad. "They dare to exist in our galaxy with such pathetic defenses." Fleet Admiral Tyrek stepped forward. She commanded the 3rd Conquest Fleet, 800 of the Empire's finest warships. "Your Majesty, shall I prepare my fleet for immediate departure? We could reach their system in 20 standard cycles." "Wait," the Emperor said, raising one of his hands. "First, we should respond to their message. These humans amuse me. They speak of peace while showing us their weapons. They think their small fleet will protect them." Admiral Korex activated the communication system. "What shall we tell them?" "My lord," Emperor Vorthik smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Tell them exactly what we think of their defenses. Tell them what happens to worlds that refuse to bow before the Zephyrian Empire." The communication officer, a young Zephyrian named Kef, began typing the Emperor's words into the transmission system. The message would travel through subspace, reaching Earth in just a few hours. "To the pathetic creatures of Earth," the Emperor began, "I am Emperor Vorthek, ruler of the mighty Zephyrian Empire. We have seen your laughable attempt at military preparation. Your 12 toy ships and 3 space stations are nothing before our power." He paused, walking closer to the main screen where Earth's image still glowed. "We rule 12 star systems. Our fleet contains over 10,000 warships. Each of our battleships carries enough firepower to turn your entire planet into dust. Your weapons could not damage our smallest scout vessel, The other officers nodded in agreement. They had seen the Empire's power used against other worlds. Entire civilizations had surrendered after seeing just a fraction of their fleet. You have exactly 30 standard cycles to surrender, the Emperor continued. Remove all weapons from your ships. Shut down your defense platforms. Prepare to accept Zephyrian rule. If you refuse, we will demonstrate why 43 other worlds chose to join our empire rather than resist. Admiral Corex added his own words to the message. Your technology is primitive. Your ships are weak. Your planet is small and unimportant. Submit now, and your people may survive as servants of the Empire. Resist and face complete destruction. The message was complete. Officer Keth looked up from his console. Shall I send this transmission, Your Majesty? Send it, the Emperor commanded, and make sure they receive all our fleet data. I want them to see exactly how hopeless their situation is. The transmission launched into subspace, carrying the Empire's demands toward the distant Sol system. Along with the message went detailed information about Zephian military strength, images of their massive battleships, data about their weapons, records of previous conquests. Fleet Admiral Tyrix studied the tactical displays showing Earth's position. My lord, their system has several other planets. Some appear to have mining, operations, and research stations. Shall we target those as well? Of course, the Emperor replied. When we arrive, we will destroy everything that resists. Their asteroid mining ships, their research outposts, their pathetic little colonies. On other worlds, nothing will remain except what serves the Empire. Commander Nexus brought up a holographic map of the local galactic region. Earth sat at the edge of explored space, far from any major trade routes. They are isolated, Majesty. No other species will come to their aid. They have no allies, no protection, except their own weak military. The Emperor nodded with satisfaction. He had conquered many worlds, but few had amused him as much as these humans. Their naive message about peace and friendship showed how unprepared they were for the realities of galactic politics. Begin preparations for conquest, he ordered. I want the third conquest fleet ready to depart within 10 cycles. Admiral Tyrix, choose your finest commanders. This should be quick work, but I want it done properly. Yes, Your Majesty, Tyrix replied. Shall we bring the full fleet, or would a smaller force be sufficient? Emperor Vorthek considered the question. 800 ships seemed like excessive. Force against 12 human vessels, but he wanted to make an impression. Other species would learn about this conquest. They needed to see that even the smallest resistance would be met with overwhelming power. Bring the entire third fleet, he decided. Let the humans see what real military might looks like. Let them count our ships as they fill their sky. Perhaps some will survive to tell other species about Zephyrian power. The command center buzzed with activity as officers began implementing the Emperor's orders. Fleet positions were calculated. Supply schedules were arranged. Weapon systems were tested and prepared. Admiral Corex remained near the Emperor's throne, studying the human transmission. Data. My lord, there is something strange about their message. They seem remarkably calm for a species facing conquest. Most civilizations show fear when they first encounter our empire. The Emperor dismissed the observation with a wave of his hand. They are simply too primitive to understand the danger they face. Once our fleet arrives in their system, they will learn quickly enough. The massive engines of Dominator Prime hummed with power as the flagship prepared to lead the conquest fleet toward Earth. In 30 cycles, the humans would face a choice between submission and destruction. Emperor Vorthek was confident he knew which they would choose. The communication alert sounded throughout the Earth Defense Command Center in Geneva. Director Paul Henderson looked up from his morning reports as the priority signal flashed on his screen. The transmission had arrived from deep space, carrying The Zephyrian Empire's response to humanity's peaceful greeting. General Marcus Kane entered the command center, his boots clicking on the polished floor. Behind him walked Admiral Lisa Turner, her Navy uniform crisp and clean. They had been expecting this reply for 3 days now, ever since Earth sent its first message to the alien empire. "Play the transmission," Henderson ordered. The main screen, filled with the image of Emperor Vorthek sitting on his golden throne. His yellow eyes stared directly at the camera, and his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. The Emperor's words filled the room. His demands were clear and brutal. 30 cycles to surrender, complete disarmament, submission to alien rule. The threat of total destruction if humanity refused. When the message ended, silence filled the command center. The 3 leaders looked at each other, processing what they had just heard. Outside the windows, Lake Geneva sparkled in the morning. Sunlight, peaceful and calm. "Well," Admiral Turner said finally, "that could have gone better." General Kane rubbed his chin thoughtfully. 800 warships in their conquest fleet. 10,000 vessels in their entire navy. That's a significant force. Director Henderson activated the secure communication system. "I'm calling an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. All department heads, all fleet commanders. We need everyone here within 2 hours." The next few hours passed quickly. Representatives from every major nation arrived at the command center. Military advisors, scientists, diplomats, and intelligence officers filled the large conference room. The Zephyrian message played 3 more times as the assembled leaders discussed humanity's options. "The math is simple," said Dr. Angela White, head of the Defense Research Division. "Their fleet outnumbers ours by more than 60 to 1. In a conventional engagement, we would lose." Admiral Turner stood at the head of the conference table, pointing to tactical displays showing both human and alien forces. "Our ships are fast and maneuverable, but their vessels are much larger. Each of their battleships probably carries more firepower than our entire fleet combined." "What about our orbital defenses?" asked General Kane. "The platforms around Earth have been upgraded with our latest weapons. Against normal threats, they would be effective," Turner replied. "But the Zephyrians showed us their fleet composition. Heavy cruisers, battleships, and dreadnoughts. Our defenses weren't designed to handle that level of assault." Director Henderson looked around the room at the worried faces of Earth's leaders. "Are we seriously considering surrender? After everything humanity has accomplished? We have to consider all options," said Secretary of State Robert Kim. "These aliens have conquered 43 other civilizations. Maybe we can negotiate better terms." "No," General Kane said firmly. "We've seen what happens to species that submit to the Zephyrian Empire. They become slaves. Their worlds are stripped of resources. Their people serve alien masters." "Admiral." Turner walked to another display showing recent intelligence reports. "Our deep space sensors have been tracking their fleet movements. They're mobilizing exactly as they threatened. 800 ships moving toward the edge of their territory. They'll reach our system in 27 cycles." The room fell quiet again. Everyone understood the timeline. Less than a month before the alien armada arrived at Earth's doorstep, Dr. White cleared her throat. "There might be another option, something we haven't discussed." All eyes turned to her. She looked nervous but determined. "Project Starlight. The experimental systems we've been developing. They're not ready for full deployment, but we have working prototypes." "The new shield technology?" Admiral Turner asked. "Those systems are still in testing phase." "The shields work," Dr. White insisted. "We've run hundreds of simulations. The energy absorption and redirection capabilities exceed all our projections. And the new weapon system has been tested successfully 3 times. Director Henderson leaned forward. "What are you suggesting?" "Instead of trying to match their numbers, We demonstrate our technological superiority, show them that humanity isn't as primitive as they think. General Kane frowned. How do we do that without starting a war we can't win? Admiral Turner had been studying the tactical displays while the others talked. Now she turned to face the room, her expression thoughtful. What if we send a single ship? The suggestion created an immediate uproar. Several people began talking at once, their voices overlapping in confusion and disbelief. One ship against 800, Secretary Kim asked. That's suicide. Not if it's the right ship with the right technology, Turner replied calmly. Think about the psychology. They expect us to cower in fear or mount a desperate defense with everything we have. Instead, we send one vessel to meet their entire fleet. That's insane, said General Patricia Brooks, commander of the Luna Defense Force. No single ship could survive that kind of engagement. Not survive, Turner corrected. Demonstrate. We're not trying to destroy their fleet. We're showing them that their assumptions about human capabilities are wrong. Dr. White nodded eagerly. The USS Liberty has been fitted with both prototype systems. Her shields could theoretically handle massive energy bombardment. Her weapons could provide a very convincing demonstration. Director Henderson raised his hand for silence. Explain this plan clearly. What exactly are you proposing? Admiral Turner activated a holographic display showing the outer solar system. We positioned the Liberty at the edge of our territory. When the Zephyrian fleet arrives, our ship makes contact. Captain Morrison requests that they withdraw peacefully. They'll laugh at us, General Kane pointed out. Probably, Turner agreed. Then they'll attack. 800 ships firing simultaneously at one target. The Liberty's shields absorb everything and remain intact. And then? Henderson asked. Then we show them our new weapon, Dr. White said quietly. Not aimed at their ships. Aimed at something expendable. An asteroid, a piece of space debris. Something that demonstrates the weapon's power without threatening their fleet directly. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. It was a dangerous gamble. If the shields failed, Earth would lose its most advanced ship and 50 crew members. If the weapon demonstration wasn't impressive enough, the aliens might attack anyway. There's something else to consider, said Admiral Turner. The Zephyrians have conquered 43 worlds. How many of those civilizations fought back with everything they had? How many threw their entire military against the alien fleet? Probably all of them, General Kane admitted. Exactly. They're used to seeing desperate last stands. Massive fleet engagements, planetary bombardments. They've never encountered a species confident enough to send a single ship. Secretary Kim looked skeptical. You think they'll be impressed by our confidence? I think they'll be confused, Turner replied. And confusion creates doubt. If we can make them doubt their assumptions about human capabilities, we buy time for negotiation. Director Henderson called for a vote. The debate continued for another hour, with arguments on both sides. Some council members wanted to attempt conventional diplomacy. Others suggested hiding Earth's population in underground shelters, while the fleet engaged the aliens in space. In the end, Admiral Turner's plan won by a narrow margin. The USS Liberty would be prepared for its unprecedented mission. Captain Jake Morrison would be briefed on the experimental systems. His crew would be volunteers only, understanding the risks they faced. God help us all, Henderson muttered as he signed the authorization orders. We're betting human civilization on one ship and 50 brave souls. Admiral Turner was already planning the mission details. The Liberty would launch from Luna Shipyard in 48 hours. Captain Morrison and his crew would have exactly 2 days to master systems that had never been used in combat. The fate of humanity would rest in their hands. The USS Liberty drifted silently in the darkness at the edge of the solar system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the sensor displays that showed empty space in all directions. His ship waited alone, far from Earth's protection, far from the orbital defenses and the small fleet that guarded humanity's home world. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Chief Engineer Danny Walsh monitored the experimental shield systems from his position near the power core readings. Weapons Officer Karen Blake ran final checks on the prototype weapon that had never been fired in combat. Science Officer Ryan Clark tracked energy signatures and gravimetric disturbances that might signal the approaching alien fleet. "How long until they arrive?" Morrison asked, though he already knew the answer. "Sensors show massive energy signatures approaching from the outer system edge," Clark replied. 800 vessels, just as intelligence predicted. "They'll be in visual range in 12 minutes. Morrison nodded calmly. He had volunteered for this mission, just like every member of his crew. They all understood the risks. Earth's survival might depend on what happened in the next few hours. "Chief Walsh, how are our experimental systems?" the captain asked. "Shield generators are operating at full capacity," Walsh reported. "Power core is stable. All backup systems are online. The new technology is performing exactly as designed." "Weapons status?" Morrison turned to Officer Blake. "The prototype weapon is charged and ready," she said. "Targeting systems are calibrated. We have a clear firing solution on the asteroid cluster Dr. White selected for the demonstration. The Liberty was humanity's most advanced vessel, built in secret over the past 3 years. Her hull contained technologies that even Earth scientists barely understood. The shield system used principles of energy absorption and redirection that bordered on theoretical physics. The weapon system represented the pinnacle of human engineering. "Contact," Clark announced suddenly. 800 vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel. "They're huge, Captain." The main screen filled with an image that made Morrison's crew gasp in amazement. The Zephyrian conquest fleet stretched across space like a metal constellation. Massive battleships, each one larger than Earth's biggest space station. Heavy cruisers bristling with weapon arrays. Smaller vessels that were still 3 times the size of the Liberty. At the center of the formation sat the command ship, a vessel so large it looked like a mobile city. Its hull was dark metal covered with glowing lights and weapon ports. Sensor arrays and communication towers jutted from its surface like the spines of some enormous creature. "They're moving into attack." "Formation," Blake reported. "All vessels are powering up their weapons. Energy readings are off the scale." Morrison activated the ship's communication system. His message would broadcast on all frequencies, ensuring the alien fleet would receive it clearly. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth vessel Liberty. You have entered human space without permission. We request that you withdraw your fleet immediately and return to your own territory." The response came quickly. The main screen showed the bridge of the alien command ship. Fleet Commander Zefek sat in a chair that looked more like a throne, surrounded by his officers. His 3 eyes stared at the camera with obvious amusement. "Human," Zefek said, his voice filled with laughter. "I am Fleet Commander Zefek of the 3rd Conquest Fleet. We have come to accept your surrender." "Instead, we find one tiny ship blocking our path." Morrison remained calm. "Commander, we are prepared to defend our system. Withdraw now, and no harm will come to your vessels." The alien commander's laughter grew louder. Around him, other Zephyrian officers joined in, their strange voices creating a chorus of mockery. "One ship," Zefek repeated. "One pathetic human ship against 800 vessels of the mighty Zephyrian Empire. Your species is even more foolish than we believed." "We are offering you one chance to leave peacefully," Morrison said. "We do not wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves if attacked." "Defend yourselves?" Zefek stood up from his command chair. "With what? Your ship is smaller than our waste disposal vessels. Your weapons could not scratch the paint on our hulls. On the Liberty's bridge, Officer Clark monitored the alien fleet's movements. Captain, they're surrounding us. Every ship in their fleet is targeting our position. Morrison looked around at his crew. Each officer was focused on their duties, showing no sign of fear despite the impossible odds they faced. These 50 people represented the best of humanity. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and explorers who had volunteered to risk everything. For their species, crew, Morrison said quietly. You know what we came here to do. Our mission is to show these aliens that humanity cannot be dismissed or ignored. Whatever happens, we represent our entire civilization. Understood, Captain, Chief Walsh replied. All systems are ready. Weapons charged and waiting, officer. Blake added. Sensors recording everything, said Officer Clark. Earth will know what happened here. Fleet Commander Zephic's voice came over the communication system again. You have amused us enough, humans. Prepare to learn why 43 worlds chose surrender over destruction. The alien commander turned to his weapons officer. Target that pathetic vessel. All ships, full power. I want nothing left but atoms. Morrison watched as 800 alien warships adjusted their positions. Weapon ports opened across thousands of hulls. Energy readings spiked as massive guns charged with power. The alien fleet prepared to unleash enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Chief, are you certain about our shields? Morrison asked. The theory is sound, Captain, Walsh replied. But this will be the ultimate test. Officer Blake, is our demonstration ready? Target acquired, she confirmed. The asteroid is positioned perfectly for maximum visual impact. Morrison activated the ship's internal communication system. All crew, prepare for incoming fire. This is what we trained for. Remember, we're not just defending ourselves. We're defending the future of human civilization. Fleet Commander Zephic raised his hand on the alien flagship. Around him, hundreds of weapons officers waited for the command to fire. The Zephyrian fleet had never encountered resistance they could not crush. Their weapons had turned entire. Cities to glass, their fleets had broken the strongest defenses. Fire, Zephic commanded. 800 alien warships fired simultaneously. The space around the Liberty filled with energy beams, plasma bolts, and exotic weapons that humanity had no names for. The combined firepower was enough to destroy Earth's entire orbital defense grid in seconds. The energy storm struck the Liberty with the force of a collapsing star. The small human ship disappeared completely in the blinding light. For 30 seconds, space burned with released energy as the alien weapons poured destruction into a single point. Then the weapons stopped firing. The energy dissipated. Fleet Commander Zifek and his officers stared at their screens, expecting to see empty space where the human vessel had been. Instead, the USS Liberty sat exactly where it had been before the attack. Her hull showed no damage. Her shields glowed faintly as they absorbed and redirected the massive energy discharge. The ship looked as if nothing had happened. Silence filled the alien command ship. Zephic's 3 eyes widened in disbelief. His weapons officer checked the targeting systems twice, certain there had been some mistake. Impossible, Zephic whispered. Nothing could survive that barrage. Captain Morrison's calm voice came over the communication system. Commander Zephic, your attack was unfortunate. However, Earth chooses to show restraint. We will provide one final demonstration of human technology, then offer you a last chance to withdraw. The Liberty turned slowly, her hull gleaming in the starlight. On the bridge, Officer Blake prepared to fire the experimental weapon that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Fleet Commander Zifek stared at the viewscreen in complete shock. The human ship floated in space, exactly where it had been before his entire fleet fired upon it. 800 of the Empire's finest warships had unleashed their full power, and the tiny vessel remained completely undamaged. Run the targeting scan again, Zefek ordered his weapons officer. Check all systems. There must be an error. Officer Vex worked frantically at his console, running diagnostic after diagnostic. All systems are functioning perfectly, Commander. Our weapons hit the target. The energy readings confirm direct hits from every ship in the fleet. Then why is that ship still there? Zefek demanded, his voice rising with anger and confusion. Around the bridge of the Zephyrian flagship, other officers examined their own displays. None of them had ever seen anything like this. Their weapons had destroyed entire cities in single volleys. Their combined firepower could crack the surface of a planet. Yet one small human vessel had absorbed everything without showing any damage. Captain, Morrison's voice came through the communication system, calm and steady. Commander Zefek, as I said, your attack was unfortunate. However, Earth has chosen to demonstrate restraint in the face of your aggression. Restraint? Zefek shouted at the screen. You speak of restraint after surviving our weapons? What kind of technology do you possess? Morrison's image appeared on the alien view screen. He sat in his captain's chair, looking completely relaxed, despite having just survived an impossible attack. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, as if nothing unusual had happened. Commander, we tried to resolve this peacefully, Morrison said. You chose violence instead of diplomacy. Now we will provide one demonstration of human defensive capabilities, then offer you a final opportunity to withdraw from our space. On the Liberty's bridge, Weapons Officer Karen Blake had her hands poised over the firing controls. Captain, the target asteroid is in perfect position. Range is optimal for maximum visual effect. Science Officer Ryan Clark monitored the alien fleet's positions. All enemy vessels are holding formation. They seem confused by our survival. Chief Engineer Danny Walsh checked the weapon's power levels. The prototype system is fully charged. We're ready to fire on your command, Captain. Morrison looked at each of his officers. They had trained for this moment for months, running simulations and practicing with equipment that barely existed outside of theoretical physics. Now they would find out if human science could match human courage. Officer Blake, you may fire. When ready, Morrison commanded. Blake pressed the firing sequence. Deep inside the Liberty, systems that humanity had only dreamed of 5 years ago came to life. Energy flowed through pathways designed by Earth's greatest scientists. The weapon charged with power that seemed to bend space itself. A single beam of pure energy emerged from the Liberty's forward array. It was thin, almost invisible against the darkness of space. The beam passed harmlessly through the Zephyrian fleet formation, not targeting any of their ships. Instead, it continued toward a large asteroid floating in the distance. Fleet Commander Zefek watched the beam's path on his tactical display. They missed, he said with relief. Their weapon cannot even target properly. The beam reached the asteroid, a chunk of rock and metal about the size of a large city. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The beam touched the asteroid's surface and simply stopped there, like a spotlight shining on stone. Then the asteroid began to change. It did not explode. It did not break apart. It did not burn or melt. Instead, it simply ceased to exist. The massive rock faded away like smoke in the wind, leaving behind empty space where millions of tons of matter had been seconds before. The silence on the Zephyrian flagship was complete. Every officer stared at the empty space where the asteroid had been. Their sensors confirmed what their eyes could not believe. The asteroid was gone, not destroyed but erased, as if it had never existed at all. Impossible, whispered Science Officer Crix. Matter cannot simply disappear. It violates every law of physics. Run a full sensor sweep, Zefek ordered, his voice shaky. Find debris, find energy signatures, find something that explains what we just saw. The sensor sweep found nothing. No debris field, no residual energy, no trace that an asteroid had ever been in that location. The human weapon had simply removed it from existence. Captain Morrison's voice filled the alien bridge again. Commander Zefek, what you have just witnessed is a precision demonstration of human defensive technology. Our weapon could have targeted any vessel in your fleet with the same result. The implications hit Zefek like a physical blow. The human ship could have erased his flagship just as easily as it had erased the asteroid. 800 Zephyrian warships meant nothing against a weapon that could make matter simply disappear. This is impossible, Zefek said, though his voice lacked conviction. No species possesses such technology. The Empire has conquered 43 worlds. We have seen every weapon, every defense. You have never encountered humanity before, Morrison replied. We offered peace. You chose war. We absorbed your attack to show that your weapons cannot harm us. We demonstrated our weapons' power to show that your fleet exists only because we allow it. On the Liberty's bridge, Officer Clark monitored the alien fleet's communications. Captain, they're transmitting frantically to each other. Their formation is starting to break up. Some ships are moving away from us. Chief Walsh checked the weapon systems. All systems nominal, Captain. We can fire again if necessary. Morrison shook his head. That won't be needed, Chief. The demonstration was sufficient. He opened the communication channel to address the entire Zephyrian fleet. All vessels of the Third Conquest Fleet, this is Captain Morrison. You have now seen what happens when humanity is forced to defend itself. We do not wish to destroy your ships or harm your crews. The captain stood up from his chair, his image visible to every alien vessel. However, your continued presence in human space will be interpreted as an act of war. You have exactly 10 minutes to begin your withdrawal. Any ship that remains after that time will be considered hostile. Fleet Commander Zefek looked around his bridge at the faces of his officers. These were experienced warriors who had participated in dozens of conquests. They had seen the Empire's enemies surrender or die. None of them had ever encountered anything like the human technology they had just witnessed. Commander, his tactical officer said quietly, our weapons are useless against their defenses. Their weapon can destroy us instantly. We cannot win this engagement. But they only have one ship, Zefek protested weakly. One ship was enough, the tactical officer replied. If they can build one vessel with such capabilities, they can build more. How many other human ships might have similar weapons? Zefek realized the truth of those words. The humans had sent a single ship to face his entire fleet. That suggested either incredible arrogance or absolute confidence in their abilities. Given what he had just seen, confidence seemed more likely. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving urgent messages from 17 ship. Commanders requesting permission to withdraw. Morale throughout the fleet is collapsing. Morrison's voice came over the communication system one final time. 9 minutes remaining, Commander. Choose wisely. Fleet Commander Zefek looked at the tactical display, showing his 800 ships surrounding the single human vessel. For the first time in his military career, he faced an enemy he could not defeat. The human ship sat calmly in the center of his formation, completely untouchable, holding the power to erase his entire fleet from existence. Signal the fleet, Zefek said quietly. All ships, begin withdrawal procedures. We are returning to Zephyrian space immediately. The greatest conquest fleet in the Empire's history began its retreat, defeated by 50 humans in a single ship. The Zephyrian Third Conquest Fleet began its withdrawal from human space in complete disorder. Ships that had arrived in perfect military formation now scattered like frightened animals. Some vessels moved quickly toward the edge of the system, their engines pushing maximum power. Others hesitated, their commanders still struggling to understand what they had witnessed. Fleet Commander Zefek sat in his command chair aboard the flagship, watching his proud armada retreat in shame. His communications officer worked frantically to coordinate the withdrawal while dozens of ship captains demanded explanations for the retreat order. "Commander," said Captain Vorthik of the heavy cruiser destroyer, "we outnumber them 800 to 1. Surely we can find a way to defeat a single ship." "You saw what their weapon did to that asteroid," Zefek replied through gritted teeth. "Do you want to test whether your ship's armor can survive better than solid rock?" The communication channel fell silent. Every captain in the fleet had watched the human demonstration. They had seen matter simply disappear without explosion, without debris, without any trace of what had existed moments before. On the bridge of the USS Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien fleet's retreat with quiet satisfaction. His crew maintained their positions, monitoring the withdrawal to ensure no Zephyrian vessels remained behind to cause trouble. "All alien ships are moving away from our position," reported Science Officer Ryan Clark. "Their formation is completely broken. Some vessels are already preparing to jump to faster-than-light travel." Chief Engineer Danny Walsh checked the ship's systems one final time. "Our experimental equipment performed flawlessly, Captain. Both the shields and the weapon exceeded all design specifications. The demonstration was precise and effective," added Weapons Officer Karen Blake. "The target was completely eliminated with minimal energy expenditure." Morrison nodded with approval. His crew had performed perfectly under impossible pressure. 50 humans had faced down 800 alien warships and emerged victorious without firing a shot in anger. "Open a channel to Earth Command," Morrison ordered. "Priority transmission." The main screen filled with the image of Admiral Lisa Turner in the Earth Defense Command Center. Behind her, Morrison could see Director Paul Henderson and General Marcus Kane watching anxiously. "Captain Morrison," Admiral Turner said, relief evident in her voice, "report your status." "Mission accomplished, Admiral," Morrison replied calmly. "The Zephyrian fleet is withdrawing from our space. No human casualties. The Liberty is undamaged and all systems are functioning normally." The celebration in the Earth Command Center was immediate and loud. Officers cheered and applauded while Director Henderson slumped in his chair with obvious relief. The impossible gamble had succeeded. "Captain, can you confirm the enemy fleet strength?" General Kane asked. 800 vessels as predicted, Morrison reported. "They attacked with everything they had. Our shields absorbed their full firepower without difficulty. The weapon demonstration was completely successful." Meanwhile, aboard the Zephyrian flagship, urgent transmissions arrived from the Empire's capital world. Emperor Vorthak himself appeared on the communication screen, his yellow eyes blazing with anger. "Fleet Commander Zefek," the Emperor snarled, "explain why your conquest fleet is retreating from a single enemy vessel." Zefek straightened in his chair, knowing his military career was probably over. "Your Majesty, the humans possess technology far beyond our understanding. Their ships survive the combined firepower of our entire fleet. Their weapons can destroy matter at the molecular level." "Impossible," the Emperor declared. "No primitive species could develop such capabilities." "I am transmitting our sensor records now, Majesty," Zefek replied. "You will see that the humans are not primitive. We have made a serious error in our assessment of their abilities." The transmission ended abruptly as Emperor Vorthik reviewed the battle recordings. On his throne world, the Emperor watched in growing amazement as the human vessel absorbed 800 simultaneous weapon strikes and then demonstrated technology that defied comprehension. His scientific advisors gathered around the Imperial throne, studying the data with expressions of disbelief. Chief Science Officer Nexer spoke for the group. "Majesty, their shield technology appears to use principles we have never encountered. Their weapon somehow converts matter directly into energy without the normal atomic processes. How is this possible?" the Emperor demanded. The Empire has studied 43 conquered civilizations. None possessed anything approaching this level of advancement. Perhaps, Nexer said carefully, humanity developed along different scientific paths than other species. Their approach to physics may be fundamentally different from ours. Emperor. Vorthik studied the recordings again, watching the human captain speak with calm confidence while surrounded by impossible odds. The Emperor had built his empire through military conquest, but he was not stupid. He recognized superior technology when he saw it. Back in human space, the last Zephyrian vessels were preparing to leave the solar system. Captain Morrison maintained his position at the edge of human territory, ensuring the aliens completed their withdrawal. "Captain," Officer Clark reported, "we're receiving a new transmission from the alien flagship." The main screen showed Fleet Commander Zefik on his bridge. The alien commander looked tired and defeated, his earlier arrogance completely gone. "Captain Morrison," Zefik said formally, "the Third Conquest Fleet acknowledges human sovereignty over this system. We are withdrawing as requested." "Commander," Morrison replied, "humanity appreciates your cooperation. We hope this incident will lead to better understanding between our species." "Perhaps," Zefik said quietly. "Your demonstration has given the Empire much to consider." The transmission ended, and the last Zephyrian vessels jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving human space empty of alien threats. On Earth, the news of humanity's successful defense spread rapidly through all the colonies and space stations. The story of how 50 humans in a single ship had defeated the galaxy's mightiest conquest fleet became legend within hours. Admiral Turner addressed the Global Defense Council from the command center in Geneva. "Ladies and gentlemen, today marks a turning point in human history. We have proven that our species cannot be dismissed or conquered by superior numbers alone." Director Henderson stood beside her, looking out at the assembled representatives from every nation on Earth. "The Zephyrians will carry word of our capabilities back to their empire. Other species will learn that humanity possesses advanced defensive technology." "What happens now?" asked Secretary of State Robert Kim. "Now we continue developing our technology," Admiral Turner replied. "The USS Liberty was our prototype. We'll build more vessels with similar capabilities. Humanity's position in the galaxy has changed permanently." General Kane pointed to strategic displays showing the local galactic region. "Intelligence suggests several other alien civilizations have been monitoring the situation. They've seen what happened here today." 3 weeks later, the first diplomatic contact arrived from the Altarian Federation, a peaceful alliance of 12 species seeking trade agreements with humanity. Their message was polite and respectful, offering scientific exchange and cultural cooperation. Captain Morrison and the USS Liberty received new orders to establish a permanent patrol route along the boundaries of human space. The ship became the first of a new class of Guardian vessels, ensuring that humanity's message of strength through restraint was clearly understood throughout the galaxy. The crew of the Liberty had changed the course of human history. They had shown that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from destroying your enemies, but from demonstrating that you could destroy them if necessary, then choosing not to. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as a species too advanced and too confident to be conquered. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The age of human expansion had begun, built on a foundation of technological superiority and diplomatic wisdom that would serve the species well in the centuries to come.